Guys, today's module is hearing and being here. Okay. And so that would mean the difference between listening and hearing. And so I think a lot of us struggle with these two because we think that they are doing the same thing. We interchange hearing and listening as the same thing, but they're not. But at the end of the day, we need to be talented and wise enough to know which one to use at which point of the day that we're in. Okay, so it's pretty important that we use them both. We just need to make a conscious choice as to when to use them. So if you've ever been accused of being a horrible listener or a bad listener or someone who just doesn't know how to pay attention when someone is talking, you just might want to continue hearing what I have to say. Okay. So the difference between hearing and listening is there's a level of engagement that's involved and the effort that's projected that plays an important part in determining on which one you're doing, whether it's listening or hearing. There was a study done by Psychology Today that says 96% of people actually think that they're good listeners, right? But if that were true, why are they only retaining half of what's being said? Interesting, right? So let's get right into it. Make sure you like and you share and you subscribe to my video so you can get more of me, okay? So what's hearing? Hearing, guys, is the continuous act. It's a continuous act and it's involuntary. Your ears are doing exactly what they're designed to do, is just to hear. And hearing, we do that every day, all day. Everything around us is considered background noise, everything. And that's why you can actually hear people talking and don't know what they're talking about. You don't know the specifics of their conversation. And another great example is if you go to sleep with the TV on, that's because you just need to hear somebody talk. You don't really know what they're talking about. You just want that background noise to help you fall asleep. I tend to do it sometimes. Drives my husband nuts. And your ears, like I said, they're doing exactly what they're designed to do, is just to hear. It doesn't require a lot of effort on our part to hear. Okay. Your brain now, let's talk about the brain for a sec. Your brain can process words faster than people can speak them. And people typically speak anywhere between 125 to 150 words per minute on average. As opposed to your brain now, your brain is processing about 200 to 400 words per minute on average. And so that's probably why your brain anticipates the next words and processes the information as it's being delivered. Again, that's probably why many people are thinking about their responses before they fully understand what's being said. It's a sad thing, but it's true. So needless to say, hearing is not listening because there's no focus there. Now, listening now, let's talk about listening. And that's when we are using our cognitive behavior to process more than what's being said. Now, listening is actually a voluntary act, okay? You have to make a conscious choice to want to listen. And that's because we don't do it every day. Okay. You'd probably go crazy trying to analyze every sound that you heard, right? So let's just call it what it is. Listening is a functional act and it requires effort and it requires for you to interpret, possibly recall, or even evaluate the message to truly understand what's being said. Now, for a lot of us, listening is a very difficult thing for them to do. It requires practice. And you know what? Everybody can do it. You just have to work at it. So, based on the definitions between hearing and listening, if you defined yourself already as someone who is a listener or who's a good listener, right? You first might want to hear the different versions of a listener, right? So the first one is a pseudo listener. Now, a pseudo listener is someone who looks like they're paying attention, but they're only partially listening. Get right to it. They are fakers, guys. Sorry I had to say it, but they're faking it, right? Their mind is running somewhere else. They're preoccupied. They're doing something different other than listening to you. Now, I like to think that people are inherently good. So maybe this pseudo listener is doing their best to split their attention span between what they're doing and listening to you. And in doing that, you're probably going to hear the responses of, sure, yeah, whatever, right? Those kind of responses, they're not concrete responses. They're responses to not really hurt your feelings. And pseudo listeners, they are your multitasking. They are the ones that's going to try their best to give you a little bit of listening, but they're really not. Okay. And you probably caught them at a bad time. Maybe they're surfing their phone, watching TV. Maybe they're on their computer. So I don't want to automatically make the assumption that a pseudo listener is a bad listener because they may have had a good reason as to why they're just partially listening. So a really good fix for a pseudo listener, right? If you're a pseudo listener, I recommend that you tell the speaker to arrange a better time to catch you so that you can give them your undivided attention. So this way you don't come across like you're just partially listening. And for the speaker, if you know you're talking to a pseudo listener, give them what they need, right? They need the time to compartmentalize their listening span. So you might want to arrange a time when it's better to talk to them, right? So at the end of the day, save the relationship because a pseudo listener could be a good listener. They're just probably someone you caught at a bad time. Now, the next listener, we classify them as a narcissistic listener. Yeah, narcissistic listener is the person who wants to monopolize the entire conversation. Yep, I said it. And I know everybody who's watching this video knows someone who is a narcissistic listener. We all know them, right? They enjoy interrupting your conversation. They enjoy interrupting you when you're talking because they have no patience. They have no patience in hearing what you have to say. They have no patience hearing your explanations, nothing, right? And their main focus in the entire conversation is to find a way to redirect it back onto themselves. And in doing that, they may even end the conversation because they don't like what they hear and they may just end it and walk away because what they're hearing they just doesn't jive with them, and it takes a lot of effort for these people to actually want to listen. So needless to say, yep, I'll say it again, it's all about them. And a narcissistic listener might be even a good friend, might even be someone that you like, but you might want to put them on the back burner of listening to anything that you have to say because chances are they're really not paying attention and they're just going to end up ruining a relationship between you and them based on the way that they respond to your message. Okay. Then you have a cynical listener. And a cynical listener is just like the word, the definition of the word, someone who is skeptical in everything that you say. And you can see it in their body language, right? Their face is kind of like, kind of giving you the I don't believe you. And they don't give anybody the benefit of the doubt in their stories. Everything with them is kind of like tilting their head sideways. You ever seen those puppies go, right? And needless to say, too, with them, this is a person, again, could be a great friend. It could be someone you like jiving with at times, but keeping them on, the forefront of your listeners might not be the best thing to do because at the end of the day, with your cynical listener, there's always going to be a lack of engagement between you and that person. So I would probably not classify that as someone you want to really do a whole lot of talking and expect a lot of listening from. Okay. So, where do we all want to end up becoming? We want to end up becoming short and sweet, an active listener. So, what's an active listener? An active listener is that person who's going to give you curiosity. They're going to invest effort into hearing what you actually have to say. They have a genuine desire to focus on the verbal message that's coming out of your mouth, basically, right? And you can even see it in their body language. Their body language is open, it's receiving, their eye contact is, they're making eye contact with you. They're not multitasking. They're believing in what you have to say. And at the end of the day, they're not making it all about them. They are receiving your message. This is your time to talk. All right. And so they're good with patience and they will sit there patiently allowing you to, indulge in your entire message. Okay. So to be a good listener, it has to be an intentional act, right? To want to understand what other people have to say. And again, this is a conscious choice. Now, some of you are probably going to disagree with what I'm about to say, but it needs to be said. the amount of time that you invest in listening to what the other person has to say is a good indicator of how much you actually care. I had to say it. So when you're fully engaged in the conversation, when you're fully engaged in the other person talking to you, you're going to display a sense of empathy, and you're going to give them responses that are thoughtful, and it's going to be engaging, like I said. And this also includes being able to decipher nonverbal clues. An active listener also deciphers nonverbal cues. And so, by the way, nonverbal cues, when it comes to effective communication, makes up 93%. 93% of effective communication. And words, by the way, is only 7%. So we actually communicate a lot more with our nonverbal cues than we do with our verbal cues, because its words is only 7% of effective communication. Actually, 38% belongs to your tone, and 55% belongs to your body language. So now I'm talking about your facial expressions. I'm talking about your eye contact. I'm talking about your tone of voice, the touch. All those things encompasses 93%. So if you are an active listener, in addition to using your ears to hear what's being said, you're also going to pay attention to the message of what the body language of the other person is saying. Okay. So let's turn off the hearing aids, guys, and let's turn on the listening aids, So how do we do that? Well, there's 5 things that I would recommend. The first thing is you've got to learn how to ask relevant questions, right? You got to ask relevant questions to the message, to the topic at hand. Don't fill in the holes based on what you want to hear. Again, that would just make you a narcissistic listener, right? Number 2, be curious. Be curious about the message. Be curious about the topic. And again, don't make assumptions because you think you know it all. And I said that in the nicest way possible, right? We don't know it all. Number 3 is talk when it's your turn. When you've interrupted the other person, it's obvious that you don't care, right? So talk when it's your turn. Sometimes a little bit of silence is necessary between you and the talker, because that silence allows for more thought to be invested into this conversation. So talk when it's your turn. Number 4, try to remember that it's not all about you, right? Everyone doesn't need your personal, your personal stories, right? Sometimes they just want you to listen. So me personally, the rule of thumb that I like to use when someone comes to me and they want to talk, I ask them, I said, are you looking for a listener, or are you looking for a solution? And usually that one question can kind of help direct what I need to do as far as this listener is concerned. Because if they're just looking for someone to listen, then guess what? I'm going to stay quiet and let them just go ahead and talk. If they're looking for a solution, then I'm allow them to talk, and then I'm going to project what I think that they should do to fix their problem. So try that question. Are you looking for a listener, or are you looking for a solution? Okay. And the 5th one, which is the last one, watch your own body language when the other person is talking. Okay. I always say that if your arms are folded when this person is talking, let it be because you're cold and not because you're closed off. Okay. So I end with this. Your ears give people the ability to hear, but listening gives people the ability to be here. You should know the difference and know when to use them. Okay. So guys, we're all a work in progress. Learning is a journey, not a destination. Keep growing, my friends. Stay blessed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Peace out.